Today we're going to be picking up a Dreamcast, possibly one of the best consoles to come out this decade. So why don't you sit back and relax as we go and pick up the peak of 90s piano.
Here we have Sega's Dreamcast, the penultimate console of the 1990s, taking the best aspects of both the dated N64 and the even more dated PlayStation, and combining them to make what seems to be a very impressive little box of power. Gone are the archaic warped graphics of the PlayStation, gone are the storage limitations of the Nintendo 64. So you get the gist, but what is going on under the hood? Under here at its core, it has a 128-bit, that's right, 128-bit, 200MHz Hitachi RISC processor, accompanied by a blazing fast NEC CLX2 graphics processor, capable of running the latest and greatest games in twice the resolution of the last generation, with no shimmering or warping effects to be seen. No storage limits to be seen here either, with the console utilising a GD-ROM disk drive, meaning 1 whole gigabyte of storage. That's larger than the PlayStation's CD-ROMs, and much larger than the competing N64, meaning more space for better textures and higher quality audio. And well, that's just better all around. But what does this actually mean? From the moment you turn it on, you can see the Dreamcast is utilising Windows CE, but can also boot up to a custom operating system depending on what the developer wants to use, meaning you've got low-level access if you need it, or easy development on the Windows side of things should you want to do that either, meaning it should pave the way for some great titles in the future depending on who wants to develop for it. And judging by what's already planned for the new year, I can't wait. No doubt that if any console was going to handle the great Half-Life port that's apparently on its way, there's a reason they should choose something that can already run DirectX, which is something you won't be seeing on your PlayStation, would you? Still, the Dreamcast takes a lot of revolutionary steps forward. The controller takes cues from both the N64 and PlayStation controllers. You're offered expandability by placing accessories into the back of the controller, but hang on a tick, wasn't the N64 able to save to a cartridge and the PlayStation 1 had memory cards? But I can't see any way that the Dreamcast is able to save anything here. So how do I save my games? Well, you see this little attachment? It is not only a little console by itself, it doubles up as a screen on your controller, and as a memory card. But without delving too much into all the console's features already, its primary use is a gaming device. So how exactly does it end up dealing with that? Sega has always been a pioneer in the racing game genre, and I have to announce that honestly they've graced it with the Sega GT video game release. featuring a ton of real-world cars and customizations, including my very own, the latest and greatest Vauxhall Astra, all the while offering you amazing graphics with no shimmering or warping to be seen. High-quality lighting and shaders are also used, and a load of customization over your own vehicles. You've got to save up and work your way through the cars you want to actually purchase, but hey, if you felt like keeping one and using it for a longer time, why not upgrade it with plenty of engine modifications and tweaks, all the way through to customizing just how your engine works, your suspension, your brake systems, how the car's control is fantastic, and honestly, it is just a huge step up over the last generation of racing games. But if you don't mind losing a few of the cars and tuning options, instead want to opt for a prettier looking game, well, why not take a look at Metropolitan Street Racer, an awesome title that once again lets you drive around some highly detailed environments across a wide range of cities, across an even larger array of countries. The selection of cars might not be there compared to Sega GT, but you've still got a load of licensed vehicles, including another Vauxhall Astra, and there's definitely something to driving a highly detailed version of your own car down the streets of Japan, and I'd put it up there with my top titles. This is not something we've ever seen before. To put into perspective what the PlayStation is offering right now, well, the difference is night and day. That's not to say that Gran Turismo 2 is a bad game by any means, but when you look at the load times, the lighting, the textures, you're not going to be sat through a load of menus waiting like you are with this game. And even then, when you put them side by side, there's no comparison. The Dreamcast is just miles ahead. Now, one of the things that are really taking off in recent years, at least in the console area as well as the PC, are first-person shooters. And what better way to experience the likes of Quake 3 than on the Dreamcast with controls uniquely mapped to your own console controller. It's got a bit of automatic aim, great graphics, and great optimizations. It's the full Quake 3 experience on a little white box. And the best bit of all, you don't need any of those cumbersome desktop towers. You can even take up networking and plug this console into the wall.
And can even play Phantasy Star Online on the World Wide Web with the mouse and keyboard. Items and accessories sold separately. We aren't responsible for paying your phone bill relating to online gameplay.
Right, but much like our sponsor says, you can plug this in and even play this game online, as well as Phantasy Star Online of course, against not only other Dreamcast consoles, but also those playing on PC. And you didn't need to splash out for a 3D Voodoo to go and do that, did you? What was that mentioned earlier though? What is Phantasy Star Online? Well, it's just one of those completely huge online multiplayer games, complete with interactions with other users online in a massively detailed world and hub, smooth animations and gameplay, and great graphics to be found. It's an experience that you really aren't going to find on anything else, mostly because this is online. This isn't exactly something that's ever been easily accessible like this before. All you have to do is plug your console into the network and you're good to go. You can use a mouse and keyboard if you want, but as mentioned earlier, those are sold separately. Not that the game isn't great to play with on the Dreamcast controller, because this is really a revelation in terms of how easy it is to play your favourite games. You can really turn this into a compelling little PC competitor, and it's not going to cost anywhere near that much. If MMOs aren't for your fancy though, I've managed to get my hands on something that's coming up in the new year. Something that is currently bringing PCs down to their knees. This is pre-release footage right here, but it is indeed running Half-Life, which is pending for a full release in the near future. It is currently nearly finished, with most of the game being there, complete with its own new expansion pack that is going to be exclusive to the Sega Dreamcast. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if people are queuing up to get their hands on a console and a copy of the game just for this alone. And I can tell you from the preview I've managed to play so far, this is going to be some of the best gaming experience we've ever seen on a console. Complete with all new HD textures for NPCs, it looks like it's turning out to be something that everyone could be hyped for. Currently I've been experiencing some frame rate related issues in the late game, but for the most part this game does even seem to stick close to 60 FPS a lot of the time when exploring the vast Black Mesa facility, complete with all the lighting effects and everything that made this such a great game over on the PC, now something you're able to enjoy from the comfort of your own living room. Every console seems to have its own big adventures, and if an upcoming Half-Life port wasn't exciting enough for you, then I can assure you what the Dreamcast has to offer right now is up there with the likes of Metal Gear Solid and the Zelda series, which seem to be the big two competing right now. If you want the peak of gaming performance, however, there is currently nothing else better than Shenmue 1 and 2, the latter of which you're seeing here right now, with a huge sprawling world, voice acting across the board, real-time shadows, dense environments, a sprawling storyline. I mean, there's sure more than enough to keep anyone engrossed. The combat system they've used is based on the fantastic Virtua Fighter games, all while utilising a world where there is a lot more to do than just fight. People actually reflect people and have a daily routine, there's a day and night cycle, and there is a lot going on that is sure to impress you. Now, I'm not going to go over the top and in depth about every single title, but there are plenty of other standout titles out there right now, or at least there are going to be some more in the very near future. You've got all the latest and greatest of fighting games out there on the console right now with the Soul Calibur games, which not only look and run absolutely fantastic, but they've even gone to the liberty of ensuring that your VMU and your controller actually mimics the actions with a smaller pixel art version of your selected character. Now, if that isn't some forward-thinking game design and game development right there, then I don't know what is. You've also got the likes of the Tomb Raider series, which just received a full port of the game which trumps the PlayStation version, with the added bonus of it being one of those games that utilises the Windows CE part of the console, just to emphasise how easy it is to port games from the PC to this console. The Sonic games have all had a proper transition to 3D, and although I've noticed some slightly buggy controls, the graphics really do have a certain charm to them. They're bright, they're bold, and they're very high resolution. Honestly, if you're going to be showcasing the mascot of your company, why not do it in a way where it stands out from the crowd? There's no blur going on here. With fast fluid gameplay and large levels, it's certainly very different from anything we saw last generation. You've got epic titles like Jet Set Radio, which take full advantage of the console's new audio capabilities as much as the new graphical ones. With cel-shaded graphics and a radical soundtrack, it is shaping up to be a proper classic, complete with slick controls that match the gameplay. Honestly, a rather unique title, and I can't remember seeing anything equivalent to this. The Dreamcast really is turning out to be the home for the future of gaming, and a lot of genre-defining titles. Not everything needs to push the genre though, so I will give an honourable mention to all of the third-party titles that are receiving great ports to the console. The GTA series seems to be continuing with updated graphics and a higher resolution, as well as the likes of Crazy Taxi, which given Sega's backing makes sense to find itself as part of the Dreamcast library. Unreal Tournament is arguably even better than Quake 3 in terms of visual fidelity and controls, but once again, you're going to have to argue with yourselves over which one you prefer there. You'll be able to go up against people locally or across the web, and it does seem like the Dreamcast should have the library to keep anyone that might need it entertained. Thing is, games don't have to be the only reason that the Dreamcast is a killer console. Oh no, far from it. See, as a media device, you can forget about sticking all those cassettes into your console. Not that they're going to do any good anyway, but with that GD-ROM player, it can also play CDs perfectly fine. Meaning that if you feel like outputting solely audio from the rear of the console or through your telly, why not use it for that? It's really rather good at it. Oh, and the goodness doesn't just stop there, no, far from it. With access to a Dreamcast Dream Key and a network cable, you can now take the console online and use it as more of a computer than a console, with everything from the new electronic mail everyone's talking about all the way through to forums and other internet places. Because why not keep up with the Dreamcast on the Dreamcast? Really fantastic stuff. Now, the Dreamcast was the latest and the greatest of 90s technology solidified, and honestly, a lot of people did like the Dreamcast. I really enjoyed the Dreamcast. Of course, that's how things were up until the release of the PlayStation 2. As up against the PS1 and N64, well, as we've just seen, it's fantastic. But the Dreamcast was nothing compared to the PlayStation 2, which dominated in every way possible. The Dreamcast had GD-ROMs, the PS2 had the DVD. The Dreamcast sold well, the PS2 sold out. In every way the Dreamcast had a chance, the PS2 just ended up doing so much better, and whether it was down to the mistakes on Sega's part, or just their timely demise, I think you can all join me in saying that the Dreamcast truly combined all of those forward-thinking, wacky ideas of the 90s and shoved them into one little plastic console. From the controllers having a screen, all the way through to the internet access and online multiplayer. Companies have been picking off little bits of this console for years now, so join me as we say farewell to the Dreamcast Dreamcast, as it's gone but not forgotten, as the spirit of the 90s finally captured in a console form. Good night.